All right, folk, so I wanted to share with you, it's my second, look, I got the plaster right, but underneath the plaster is the aircrete, and aircrete needs to be waterproofed. So in my sandbag dome, which is just here, I don't have any problems because it's a solid structure, and yeah, it just works. But aircrete is soft, so it absorbs water in and out. So first time on the farm, I've had a major plaster disaster. I've actually called the video that, and I'll be playing it to you. But now on the second time, when I have this story, look at this story. Okay, so I used cheap oxide paint, which I made myself. Oxides and white cement. And it's lovely for on a sandbag dome. Here we go. On a sandbag structure, no problem. On a sandbag dome, excuse my window covering, I'm sleeping here for the moment. But aircrete is another story. And this is what one realizes when you have the second time a problem with the finishing touch, you kind of got to say, well, I don't know jack squat about the subject. So I've researched online. There's a couple of masters. I can go back to Hajar to get the finishing touches for the dome. But there is Siggy, which is doing some good natural building and awesome natural plasters. And then of course there is Mike Reynolds from the Earthship Academy, which will teach you how to build an entire Earthship and how to plaster it and how to do the flooring. So you kind of identify the best value for your money, because you don't want to, you want to get the best value for your buck. But the academy is $2,500, and the travel is $1,000, or from where I am, and there is accommodation and food. So we're looking at $4,500 investment for that particular workshop. Look, others are cheaper, but they generally come up to about $3,000 by the time you've traveled and paid for accommodation, and the tuition fees is about $3,000. So in my Living Eco Home Masterclass, and as you know, you can get builder's dome, but we haven't cracked the plaster. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna spend $4,500 to learn from the best, and I'm going to bring in the water organizing module, the flooring from Mike Reynolds and Earthship Academy, and of course I'm going to bring their finishing touches and plasters, which they have figured out. And I'm going to put all of that into the workshop, into the course. But by the time I put that in, the price is going to go up from, about 50% up, because $4,500 is a lot of tuition fees. So I got to recoup that. So I'm going to up the course by 50%, because that's what it's going to be worth at that point. Right now, we've managed to build the structure, but we haven't cracked the plaster, and we're going to be obviously doing the skylights and the windows. So I'd like to just share with you that if you do have the calling to invest into the training, please support our Permaculture Academy and invest into the training while it's still $160 for the home course and $260 for the home and water course combined, where you're obviously going to learn 3 types of water tanks. There's an underground water tank under this dome, and a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm sure you've seen the videos and so on. But most importantly, we're going to crack them. We're going to have to strip this. Look at this. Is just ridiculous. This is just ridiculous. Let's go take you on the inside. Although on the inside, so the water absorbed through because I didn't waterproof it. So the water absorbed through and filled in the gaps of the aircrete, and then obviously leaked out on the inside, and my plaster on the inside cracked as well. Come have a look. Look at that. So that's a big crack. There's some more. So I got to urgently waterproof the structure from the outside, which I'll be using Cal Earth methods, and I'll be putting that into the course as well. But it cracked all over. So this is it. Once you realize that your plaster is a mess, you gotta go learn from the master. And the first time I used clay, and the clay shrank, so I thought, no, let me use cement and sand. And I did. This is cement and standard plaster, but the water coming in from the top is obviously putting pressure on it, and it's cracking. So urgent waterproofing from the outside, and I hope I can fix this up with Rhinolite. Fill up with polyfiller, fill up the cracks, and carry on. Repaint it. But so the oxide finish works really well on here. But I would add a little fiber into the plaster, definitely a little fiber next time, because it just binds it together. Invest into our training, and I'll guarantee you a perfect plaster, because I can't live with this stuff. So it's not conducive for sexy looks, you know. Yeah, so I'll get your plaster right, and that's a guarantee from me, even if I have to travel to the other side of the planet to find how to do it, and which I will. That's what I have been doing, and that's what I'll carry on doing. So Earthship Academy and the Master Plasterers, here we come. Have a fantastic day! Now I've got a question for you. What would a mistake like this cost you, where you have to replaster an entire outside of the house? What would a mistake like this cost you, that, you know, your plaster is just falling down like there is no fashion? Now this mistake would cost me probably a week and 2 guys of labor. So that's, you know, thanks God labor is cheap in South Africa, but wherever you are in the world could be quite pricier. But we're going to get it right, because I had to go through the mistakes to perfect the course, to perfect it. So no, try that, try that, don't do that, don't do that. There's a lot of that in the course, because really I have tried it all. And, you know, same method I've done on a sandbag dome, no problem. Same application on aircrete dome, it cracks, it has to be stripped, the full thing, and redone. But we're going to perfect it, and we're going to record the lesson in the course, and you're going to know how to do the proper way of plastering, so you do not have to do this. Because the last time this happened to me on the farm, where I used the clay and it shrank, and I mean, we had this here, I'm just replacing the outer layer. There we had to really, well, I couldn't, I ran out of money. It was, my all plaster fell down. We plastered, it was beautiful, and then I started to see these same cracks, but then the clay started to shrink, because thanks God this is cement and sand, or, you know, it's clay shrank, and big chunks, everything just fell down. We tried to rescue it with this, to try to aerate it with this lots of nails, and try to stab it with these like porcupine things so it can exhale water, but still, alas, it all fell down. And on the outside we had a layer of clay, I mean, not clay plaster. Then we had the waterproofing, which is what I'm going to be putting on here now. And then we had a final layer of cement thin plaster. Now the clay shrank, the cloth with black waterproofing drooped down, the cement, and that's what you're seeing in the outside, is that this all just looks like a mess. So, and that mistake, you know what that cost me? I was at the verge of bankruptcy on the farm, you know, and I was like, right, we just had my wife and my son tied up and gagged, and 2 robbers came with a hammer and a knife, and then I was building this fortress, the sandbag dome, because that happened in a caravan, our mobile home. So I'm like, right, let's build a fortress, let's make it strong so we can be safe there. And then my plaster falls down, and I've got no more money left, and it was the last $100 in my account. I went back to the city. I went back to the city to rescue my decor business that was falling apart because I haven't been giving it love. And yeah, and then 5 years later, I've sold the farm. It stood there forlorn and overgrown, and that was that. That was that. So that plaster mistake really cost me the change of my destiny, and you know, in a good way. So I've learned the mistakes, but now repeating this similar mistakes with a finishing touch without doing my research, because it was such cheap paint. We made white cement and oxides, 8 times cheaper, beautiful colors, and you'd think, no, it applies, but 3 months later, whoopa. And now I know that, now I'm going to teach you that. So we're going to have the perfected version in the course, because it's the only way I can give you the course if you have a perfected version of what works. So I'm going to go and learn from the top master plasters in the field and bring that knowledge back, have a perfected version that you can really not make the same mistakes I did, because they are so costly. They are so costly. And as I said, the first time my plaster fell down, I packed up and I left the farm. I would like to just share with you the mistake that I made that cost me a change of my destiny. A few years back, about 2012, I was finishing this house. It was just after the robbery that we've had just down there, where my ex-wife and my son got tied up. And then I was like determined to finish the castle so we can be safe, because we were in a mobile home, the caravan there. So I was finishing this place up, and I was on my last $500 of cash, and my entire plaster, I should call the moment plaster disaster, my entire plaster fell down. Everything, the inside plaster and the outside plaster. I used too much clay, and I didn't do test patches, because it's a clay soil, so we used what's underground, and it just felt so good, and we plastered the whole thing inside and outside. And on the outside we have the waterproofing layer, which is the same bags dipped in black stuff, which went over the clay, and then and then I had the cement plaster. So what you're seeing now is the clay has shrunk, and inside it all fell down, collapsed. I'll show you now. I mean, it was plastered beautifully, it was finished, and then on the outside the clay started to shrink, crack, and then the waterproofing, that's what you're seeing there, that started to sink down, and then of course the cement plaster, the final render started to crash. And that was just such a plaster disaster, because I had no more money to finish this construction. And with a tail under my bum, I ran back to the city to save my decor business, and I didn't have any more money to finish construction. And this is how I left it, and I've subsequently sold the farm to some lovely people. And there's my dome there still in the background. Actually, I had to fly to Pacific Domes to learn how to build it, so I love my domes. So they're doing a good job here. But yeah, I just wanted to show you inside. But the question that I have for you is, how a mistake like this would change your life if you had the last $500 to your name and no source of income, and all your plaster has to fall down. That's something to think about, because in my course we have subsequently figured out the plaster. But let me show you some other methods. Here we tried the little balls, a little boliki effect, lime, clay, sand, a little bit of cement, I think. Yeah, that's quite cool. The windows are placed according to the solar angles, the solstices, and north, east, west, south, welcoming all the directions, as well as north, northeast. So sad, but here we're trying to salvage our mix. I didn't do a test patch, and I'm suffering thousands of rands worth of loss, frustration. My plaster is falling off everywhere. I didn't get the mix right. So here this was all perfectly plastered and finished. And I don't know how it's going to survive. And my beautiful art is all starting to come off as we speak. So I have decided to, my beautiful shelf, I tried to salvage it, but started making these holes too late. So the air gaps between the bags starting to form loose ends. See, coming off, and I can't afford that to happen on my son's head. So 3 days of work. I'm going to redo the whole thing and replaster and resculpt, and hopefully teach you guys that do test patches. More sand, less clay. They've got a guy coming in now, going to strip it, apply waterproofing, and we're going to teach you the right way. So I'll hope to see you inside of our online digital classroom. I look forward to be teaching you there. It's really awesome. We've got over 700 students already as of end of 2018. And when I say we strip it, I mean we really strip it. And it's quite a challenge, let me tell you. Have a fantastic day.